Okay, so today's lesson is going to be pretty easy. It's just going to be talking about the comparison and contrast of debit and credit cards. All right, so we're going to first talk about a credit card. A credit card is a plastic card that is used to purchase goods and services. I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to tell you why I'm going to highlight this in just a minute. So I'm going to highlight this green. All right. So a credit card is a plastic card that is used to purchase goods and services. Using a credit card is like getting a loan. You borrow money. So you borrow for the purchase and you have to pay it back. Usually you pay it back in monthly. Most of the time, interest is due also. So now I'm going to highlight this other part in a different color. I'm going to do this one in orange. So we've got a plastic card used to purchase goods and services. Using a credit card is like getting a loan. When you do a loan, what do you have to do? If someone loans you money, you end up having to do what? Pay it back, right? So that means you borrow money and you pay it back. With credit cards, usually there is interest that is going to occur. And let me talk to you about this, what interest is. So let's say I go and I buy me a new pair of shoes for $100, okay? I don't have $100 in my account, so I'm gonna use a credit card, okay? Because I need this new pair of shoes like yesterday, right? So I'm gonna go in there and I don't have the money, but I get paid on Friday, so I'm gonna go ahead and get them on Wednesday. I use my credit card, okay? $100, right? Well, that loan that credit card company gave me, because that's what it is. Here's $100 so that you can go get your shoes. So I go and I get my shoes, spend $100. The credit card company says, not a problem, you get your money, right? Or you get your shoes. But we're gonna charge you interest. And now we're gonna go with an easy interest of 10%. Okay? So what is 10% of $100? $10, right? Okay, so the credit card company says, I'm gonna loan you this, but you're gonna have to pay back 10% of that. So now those shoes that were $100, how much did I have to spend on those? 110, right? Now, that's all okay, that's not too bad, right? But now that's if I pay it off in that month. If I don't pay it off in that month, okay, so maybe I only make $10. I buy them for $100, right? Everybody with me on this? Buy it for $100 on my credit card. They charged me 10% interest. We said it was $10, right? They send me a bill and they say, hey, look, you don't have to pay all $110 right now. You just have to pay $10. That's called the minimum amount. So you pay that $10, right? Did that $10 get anything taken off of that $100? That $10 just covered your interest, right? Now guess what the next month? Now I'm getting charged interest on the $110. So now my interest is not $10 anymore, it's now $11. So now my shoes that were $100 now just cost me $121, right? And then the next month it keeps piling on and piling on. So then what happens is you make 10 payments, right? Of $10 each. You think, okay, I paid off my $100. But did I? I didn't pay off my $100, did I? So that's the difference. That when you are using a credit card, you have to be very, very cautious of using this because that interest is going to occur. Okay, so let's talk about the good and the bad of using a credit card for a purchase or for goods or services. So the good thing about using a credit card is that if you don't have the money, if you don't have the money, right, you can borrow and still make the purchase. Sometimes as an adult, maybe your car breaks down and it's going to cost you $600 to get it fixed, right? That's usually a low end, but let's say it's going to cost you $600. You've got to get it fixed because there's no way of being able to get to work and school without a vehicle. So you've got to get it fixed, but you don't have the money right then and there. So maybe using a credit card to be able to get that vehicle fixed is what someone's going to do. They're going to borrow that money so that they can, now again, you're going to end up having to pay the interest and all that other stuff. So the good is if you don't have the money, you can borrow the money using the credit card. The bad, I'm going to use red for this if I can find my red one. Here it is. The bad thing is that there's high fees, because most credit card companies make you pay like an annual fee to have their credit card. So there's a lot of high fees and interest that is due. And a lot of times people go, oh, that's not a problem. I'm going to get a credit card and I'm going to make my purchase of $100 and I'll pay it as soon as I get the bill, so I don't have to do any interest. Well, the problem with that is it sounds great, but if you didn't have the money to begin with, more than likely you're not going to have it in 2 weeks, right? So many people do not pay off the balance, and because they don't pay off the balance, they incur, which means they collect large fees. Sometimes interest rates could be like 25%. So those shoes that you bought for $100, right? 25% of $100 is what? $25. So those $100 shoes are costing you $125. And that's if you pay it off, right? In a month. If you wait a couple of months, those $100 shoes can easily turn into $300 shoes, right? All right, so that's my good and my bad. All right, on a credit card, okay? A debit card, move this down just a little bit, there we go. A debit card is a plastic card used to purchase goods and services. Isn't that a lot like this one up here? Yeah, that's why I highlighted it green. So I'm going to highlight this one green, because these are the similar, or sorry, not similar, same things, right? We're going to compare and contrast. So they're both a debit card and a credit card are both plastic cards that I can use to make goods or services. I can buy stuff with it or do services with it. Those are both the same thing. Now the difference is that when the transactions occur, the money is taken from your bank account. So this is the differences. So when I use my debit card, is it a loan? No, that's the money I have in my account. That's my money, right? I'm not going to get any interest fees because that's my money, right? It's like going to the bank and saying, hey, or going to and paying cash with it. The only difference is you're not having cash, it's just a card. So the difference between a credit card and a debit card is one of them comes straight out of my checking account. If I don't have the money in my checking account, I can't use my debit card, right? A credit card is like a loan. All right, so let's talk about the good and the bad of a debit card. All right, the good. It's easy to access. ATMs. So if I need to get cash out, let's see. You don't have to carry checks or cash, because that works just like cash. And the other great thing about this is it's no borrowing money. If you don't have it, if you don't have the money, then you don't buy it. Well, it depends. I mean, if it's because you want a new pair of shoes, but you don't really have to have them, it's not a need, it's a want, then you save up the money and you get it, right? If it's a need, that's when you would probably need to do the credit card. A need like, I have to get my car fixed because otherwise I'm not going to be able to make money and get to my job. So, not a whole lot of bad things when it comes to a debit card, because the whole big thing with life is try not to get into debt where you owe a bunch of people, including credit card companies. So there's not a whole lot of bad things that occurs when you're using a debit card. Really, the only kind of bad thing is that some banks have fees. Some banks have fees, but it's nothing compared to interest. Nothing compared to interest. And then the bad thing is that you've got to have the money. But I don't really see that as a bad thing because then you're not overspending. All right, so we've got our goods and our bads of a credit card, goods and bads of a debit card, right? We know the things that's the same with them, and I know that the difference of what is not. Now, you know, the great thing is it used to be that you could tell the difference between a credit card and a debit card. I could hold up two different cards right now, and you would not be able to know the difference on which one is my credit card and which one is my debit card, because they look almost identical. Someone could go up there and you see them at HEB and they're swiping their card. You don't know whether they're using credit or if they're using debit. Okay? All right, let's flip it over and go over a couple of guided practice questions. Pablo wants to buy a new printer, but he doesn't have enough money in his bank account to pay for one. Which of these is not an option for Pablo? He can use his credit card to buy a printer now. Can he use a credit card? Because a credit card is like a what? Loan. All right. He can save money and pay cash for the printer on a later date. Can he do that? Absolutely. So he can use his credit card. He can say, hey, look, I don't need the printer right now. I'm going to save money and pay for it and get it later. Okay. He can use his debit card to buy the printer now. No, because why? You got to have money in the account. It already says he doesn't have enough money. So this has got to, I'm going to put debit cards need money in bank. All right. He can save money and use his debit card to buy the printer at a later date. Could he do that? Yeah, because if he saves the money, then the money will be in the account. So the only one that is not an option for him to do is C. Perfect. Which statement about using a credit card is true? Each credit card purchase represents a loan that the user must repay later. True or false? True. Okay, I'm going to put a little true there. Bank charges no fees if the user spends beyond their credit limits. So when you get a credit card, the credit card company says, hey, look, I'm going to give you this credit card, but you can only use up to $1,000. So you can't go and make a $5,000 purchase. You can only go up to $1,000. You can make little ones, but they all can't ever exceed $1,000. That's called a credit limit. Okay? Well, If you exceed that credit limit, if you go over $1,000, then the fees get outrageous. They say, hey, look, you went over your credit limit, so we're going to charge you, let's say 30% interest on all of that stuff because you went over your limit. So they're going to charge you fees, big fees, right? Big fees, big time fees. So I'm going to put big here because it's big fees. So that's definitely not true. I'm making my false statements true. So I know after a user buys an item with a credit card, the charge must appear on the user's account 3 months later. No, it occurs 1 month. As soon as you make it, that next month it's going to be on your account. Sorry. So that's going to be false. The user can avoid paying interest on the purchased amount by paying at least half the entire balance each month. Nope, the only way you can avoid paying interest on a credit card is if you pay in full the entire balance. So if after month 1, if I said, okay, I had a month to pay that off and I paid it off in full, they don't charge you interest. It's only after the second month, going into the second month. So that's false. The only one that is true is A. All right, 3. All of the options below are good features of using a debit card except, so we're going to be doing good and bad. Easy access to ATMs, good or bad? Good. That's a good thing. All right. Must pay interest if you don't pay the loan off every month. But what? Right, because a debit card, is it a loan? So debit cards are not loans. So that's not even a good or a bad because it's not even true. I'm just going to leave that blank. No need to carry cash or checks for purchases. That's a good thing, right? Especially if you're going somewhere and you don't want to carry a bunch of cash because you don't want people to, know that you have all that cash because cash is easy for someone to steal, right? So you want to be able to just carry a card because a card, if someone steals it, you can immediately shut it down. If someone steals your cash, there's nothing you can do about it. And then no borrowing money. That's definitely a good thing. So the only one that is not part of a debit card is B. So I told y'all, debit and credit cards are really, really easy, right? Okay, so I want you to go ahead and glue this into your journal.